course, with Texas, Brian Davis, Austin American Statesman. Brian, I was going to start with this. I saw they stormed the court, and you know what? In basketball, I'm fine with it. Has that even been a topic today or last night in Austin?
Well, it was the fact that they had something to celebrate. It's been the big topic. I mean, nobody, at least nobody here today gives two craps about them storming the court. That's for sure.
Well,
even Bill Self, even Bill Self said afterward, he didn't think it was a big deal.
Well, and you know, and one of the things that sometimes Texas gets suffocated with is the arrogance of that they're so good. I get that in baseball.
Yeah.
And I can even understand, despite a decade of struggles in football, that they would never do that. But men's basketball, boy, they needed that.
Absolutely, they did. And you're exactly right. Texas has always covered itself in glory, so to speak. It's like, oh, we're too good to do stuff like that. You know what? They want to have fun, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was good to see, Beard has kind of invited that a little bit. After some non-conference games, Beard asked the students to come onto the floor for like a group photo. So he has sort of invited that, and then to have a big win at home, it just seemed natural.
Brian, this team is the average would not be the right. I mean, they've been good. They've been really good, but they haven't taken that next step. Was last night that next step, or do you think there's still more to come from them than that?
No, I definitely think last night was a big step forward. There's no doubt about that. You look at, they won, 4 of the last 5. So I still think the Texas Tech game was a one-off, right? I mean, nobody was going to win in Lubbock that night. Nobody at all, right? Even the Lakers and 92 Bulls would have had a hard time in that environment, I think. But, their forwards are coming together. Marcus Carr and Courtney Ramey and Andrew Jones are a good trio. I mean, this is a solid team of parts from around the country that took a while to meld. And, they're finally doing that here at the right time.
How much do you think that Tech game made them better, or did it make them better?
I think it sort of pissed them off a little bit in the sense of here they went into a very, very hostile environment and really didn't respond, quite frankly. I mean, Timmy Allen didn't respond. Trey Mitchell just did okay. Christian Bishop just did okay. And I think that's what really made them mad is that, why didn't they play better, right? I mean, because the fans, they may be loud, but they're not on the floor, right? Chris Beard kind of mimics what Bob Knight always used to say, is that your defense ought to be able to travel, and the court is the same everywhere. So, why didn't they play better? And I think that, they know that this stretch that's coming up is one of the hardest stretches, I think, in Texas basketball recent history, with the fact they got to play Kansas, Baylor, and Tech all twice in 1 month, as opposed to having those 6 games spread out. So, but to me, that's another reason why last night was big.
The expectations are always sometimes overmodulated, no matter what UT is doing. And in this case, even because of the transfers, Chris Beard arriving, and that's part of the deal as well. But could it just be, and I don't know, they play Baylor, and we don't know if Baylor's back to being who they were when they were 15-0. I don't know. But could it be that they're starting to just maybe gel, and it's just taken longer than anyone thought because of all the different transfers?
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that. I'll tell you what. Look, looking back, I think we expected too much too fast, right? To have, 7 new players, 8 if you count Lacone. To have that many new faces come together and expect to just be lights out, against Gonzaga in game number 2. I mean, obviously that's a little much to have expected, right? And then, down here in Austin, we've been critical of Beard's non-conference schedule, taking on the St. Mary Francis's of the Blind, and basically playing Bert and Ernie and things like that. And it's just, those were easy, nothing wins, but did they really challenge them? I don't know. So then they get the Big 12 play, and it's the right mix of stiff challenge, plus everybody knows what they're doing now. And it's like here they are in February really starting to hit their stride.
And you're right. Evidence is about. I mean, that's why last night was important, not just to beat somebody that's highly ranked, but also you drop one here, you could be in that 3-game slide with who you're about to play, no matter who it might be.
Absolutely, and they have they're at Baylor and then they're at Oklahoma. I still think the Oklahoma game, people aren't really talking about that because it is still Texas OU going to Norman, and I promise you they'll be jacked up there that night. But with Baylor coming up this weekend, I know that Texas. I mean, if you don't respect the national champs, I don't know what's wrong with you, right? But I think more than anything else, I think they think that who's next on the schedule? Not in a cocky way. It's more like hey, we got to keep this momentum going.
Brian, is Steve Sarkisian and the football staff, are they happy that the basketball team's on a roll so people can quit asking them questions about when they're going to be good again?
Well, I really don't know why you say that because, as usual, Texas is undefeated during the offseason. I mean, look, nobody wins more national titles in January and February than the Beavos, right? They have won so many national titles. They've got so many recruiting banners. It's not even funny. Now, I'm the one who is sort of being the Debbie Downer on everything around here because, I've seen this show before, right? I've seen them get banner recruit after banner recruit and then turn around and be mediocre on the field. So, yes, they've had a great recruiting class. Sark should be commended for that. Yes, they finally might have a quarterback. But let's be honest, Quinn Ewers hasn't played a down, really, of legitimate college football. We don't know what he can do, right? And 2 new coaches, and they got Gary Patterson helping out the defense. I mean, I am just really hopeful that Texas has found enough mojo to make it to the bowl season, right? Please get the Beavos to 6 wins to get to a bowl game.
Brian, how bizarre and off the radar was that Gary Patterson hire? I mean, I know there was like months of us all knowing that he was, seemed bound for Texas, but, just became official, I guess, here somewhat recently, but just I would never have predicted that. I mean, all the wildest things you could predict it. Gary Patterson on the UT staff as an analyst. I don't think I ever would have come up with that one.
No, and there's still a lot of speculation here as to what it really means. This feels like a Chris Delconte-driven hire more than it feels like a Steve Sarkisian-driven hire. And I just know how Texas operates. Sark can come to the press conference and say all the right things about Pete Kwiatkowski and, he's the defense coordinator and, blah, blah, blah. Things are great. But they got Alabama coming in here in week 2. And if things go sideways, and they go sideways during the season, I know how Texas boosters and regents are. They're going to say, well, why do we need Pete Kwiatkowski? We got Gary Patterson on staff. Make him the defensive coordinator, right? I mean, that's, we've seen this movie 100 times too, right? And so I don't know, man. I just don't know how this is really going to work. I don't know if Gary, is that something he really wants to do? Or can he be coaxed into it? I still think that he is a guy in his early 60s. I still think he's got gas in the tank. I think he's going to want to have something to prove that, TCU cut ties with him too quick, right? Even though it was 20 years. Yeah, I bet you Gary would think it was too quick, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I just hope that, with all these recruits they got, Pete Kwiatkowski did not come to Austin and become a dumb defensive coordinator in a span of 1 or 2 months, right? His defenses at Washington were still some of the Pac-12's best for multiple years, right? Give him some time, get him some better players, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, Brian, it's funny you mentioned that. I think Gary Patterson might be someone you'd probably rather work for than work for you. Because it would make me nervous if I'm Steve Sarkisian and this guy he's got a statue of him. There's no statues anywhere of Steve Sarkisian. Believe me, Gary knows there's a statue of him, and we'll repeat it. Is he going to follow the leader, or is he going to maybe undercut you passive aggressively until he wins?
Well, see, okay, all right. Here's my take on that. We know that Gary Patterson and Chris Delconte are super tight, right? Okay, so if things go sideways, Delconte is going to take him to dinner and go, "Hey, listen, coach, it's just you and me sitting here, what's wrong with our team. And any coach in Gary's position is going to go, well, I told them to blitz on 3rd and 5. They didn't do it. I told them not to run that cover 2. I told them to run the safety down low in the box to stop the run. Well, maybe you should be in charge. Well, that's just how it works, right? That's just how this works. And I just find it, I don't know. I just hope that, nobody does drama like the Bevos, but I feel like this is one scenario where they have invited drama that is going to, I hope not, but it might backfire in their face.
Brian, I know you're talking about, just making a bowl game, but there's so much to happen between now and then. Like, it's what other teams do. The transfer portal's still always alive. Spring ball will say a lot. There will be coming and going in the roster and all of that. But based on what they have done, Quinn Ewers and the transfers and the new O-line class and Gary Patterson and Tashard Choice, and the list goes on and on and on. What are expectations currently looking at next season that you picked up on so far?
Well, I just know that Baylor better not make any plans for the Texas Bowl because I know the Longhorns. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Look, I think it's Texas, and they're supposed to talk about Big 12 championships every year, and that's what they're supposed to do. But I really think that this is one of those years where it's like, hey, let's just keep a lid on the anointing oil, and let's just see how it goes.
Yeah,
right? I'm telling you, Alabama coming in here is going to potentially squash any positive vibes that this thing has going, or it'll send Texas's bottle rocket into outer space. One of the two.
Yeah.
Right? That's just how it works, right?
No.
Think about this.
You're
Go
right.
back to 2019. This is a big week for Joe Burrow, obviously, right? Think about this. If Todd Orlando doesn't call a zero blitz on 3rd and 19, Texas probably stopped LSU on that drive. They get the ball back. And even Orgeron said that night, we could not stop them, right?
Yeah.
And so it's funny how fate in this game all works out, right? Burrow completes the big pass for the touchdown. LSU goes on to win, and it launches them to the national title, right? I'm not saying that Texas is going to get launched to the national title next year if they beat Alabama, but we've all seen it happen with teams. If you can get a magical win, that can launch you much, much farther than anyone thought.
I don't think there's any question. Some people thought the win against Notre Dame back in the Charlie Strong era, remember, that was going to do it. And, of course, both those teams flamed out because they were both logos. You brought this up about the drama and how – and there's no question. It's almost as if they just need to learn how to enjoy anything. And I get the standard, and even if you want to use the word, which can sound insulting, the arrogance or entitlement because of the history at certain times. But it would be nice just for a fan base to be able to understand it's a win. It's one of 3, 5, 9, 12, how many there are, and let's not go above and beyond. It's just a win in football.
Yeah, they can't do that.
No,
they just,
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
that ain't gonna happen.
I know.
That is not gonna happen. I will tell you this though. I was, if I could brag on Baylor's guy for a little bit. I don't know how much smoke y'all use the Tom Landry comparison, but that's what he looks like to me, right?
Yep.
Because I'm an old, grew up Dallas Cowboy and all that. It's like you are the personality of your head coach, right? And when your head coach is standing over there, calm as can be, almost like a statue, when the guy gets pushed out at the 1-inch line to win the Big 12 title, that really says something, right?
Yep.
Sark, to his credit, Sark is a very even keel guy. Tom was a little more up and down, a little more volatile on the sideline, but I don't know. I just think that all teams become who their head coach is, and I really do like Sark. I like his professionalism that he brings to the position. He just needs better players and some more wins. Right?
During Big 12 Media Days, we had both Lincoln Riley and Sarkisian on, and I got to tell you, there's no love lost with UT or whatever. We liked Sarkisian. We enjoyed that. He was fantastic, and it's the first time we've had somebody since Mac was there, and we get Mac all the time when he was there. But it really, I agree with you on that, and hopefully for his sake, he has success, because we do know how it can be if you don't win, especially in football at University of Texas pretty quickly. Yeah, Aranda was almost in slow motion at the end of that Oklahoma State game when everybody else was in overdrive of crazy in that with that touchdown saving tackle by McVay.
Absolutely. And, and you're right. Sark is really good with us. I tell everybody that Sark handles us the way an NFL coach handles the media, and that it's very yes sir, no sir, just the facts type of deal. He doesn't crack a lot of jokes, but he is a funny person. Just kind of what you see at the press conference podium is not really who he is completely. And I understand that coaches have to be guarded and all that, but there's a lot more there than we see. So.
Well, Brian, I also think that Sark isn't he has agendas of let's make the football team better, and the little sub-agendas of things that maybe made Charlie Strong. Charlie Strong had this thing of like, hey, we're going to get rid of weed, and we're going to and we don't want any money until we've earned it. And then Tom Herman, it was just every little noise he heard it.
Yeah.
And that's not Sark at all. Like, he just doesn't doesn't go into that.
Herman heard the noise before he even became the head coach at Texas. It was like,
That's true. That is true. No, Sark is very much. Let's just focus on winning the game, right? We just start with winning the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brian, in closing, I know we'll probably talk to you again before the season starts, but 40 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 5,000 yards. Is that about what you're expecting from Quinn Ewers in his first year at the helm?
Oh my God, I'd take the over. Give me the over on that. Give me the over, and you forgot 2,000 rushing yards.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That's right, and 22 rushing touchdowns. I did bring this up, and I didn't bring it up, but I brought it up because Garrett Gilbert was supposed to be the perfect high school quarterback, and when I saw him play when he was at Lake Travis, he damn sure looked like one to me, and we know that went off the rails. And so for UT fans, there's probably a little PTSD there, but because that set him back about a decade.
Without a doubt. No doubt. I mean, he got booed out of the stadium.
Yeah.
He literally was booed out of Royal Memorial. I mean, look, here's my thing with Quinn Ewers, right? Casey Thompson left town because, a source really close to him told me it's just become too political, right? I give Hudson Card a lot of credit for staying and fighting out the position. I also give Malik Murphy a lot of credit for coming here from California, even though he busted up his foot in the state title game. And he's still coming to compete, right? There's a reason why Trevor Lawrence started from game one, right? It's because he was the number one pick and all the excitement, blah, 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 right? I'm just telling you, man, we don't know what Quinn Ewers can do. He might freeze out there. We don't know. So Texas fans, just everybody relax, let's chill, and let's see what happens first.
Good luck with that, as you said, Brian. Good stuff. Appreciate it, man. Huge night for Texas men's basketball. They needed it, and they got it. There was a thought that, they could just finish in the mix in the Big 12 without any quality wins, but that's hard to do, especially, as you mentioned, have Baylor twice, Kansas twice, and Texas Tech twice to close out the last half of the Big 12 schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect them to raise the trophy, but I think they could definitely make a lot of noise. They made noise last night. That was a really good win for Chris Beard and UT, and that Quinn Ewers question, I'm obviously just tongue-in-cheek asking that. I think he's going to probably end up being really good. I know the whole Garrett Gilbert thing and all that, but there's plenty of hyped quarterbacks that live up to the hype, and maybe he's that guy. We don't know. But I'm very curious to see him out there because we have heard so much. It's like a bigger – he was the number one recruit 2 years ago.
Yep.
So it's no different than, Trevor Lawrence is finally playing or Justin Fields or whoever. He's in that class, and so I'm very curious to see how he does, because I know that a lot of people believe that he's got it.
Well, the Garrett Gilbert was only made worse by the fact, because you can have a bad quarterback and move on with your life. It was only made worse by the fact that Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III, and Johnny Manziel happened right after that. And those are all three guys that you would have normally said, well, Texas would have, Mac Brown would have these guys cornered because of being, the best quarterback at this, whatever. But
they got the best one. They actually did. They signed the best one.
But they had some time between to get at least one of those three guys. Between Gilbert and Manziel, they had some time to get one of the three. They wouldn't have stopped them before. But the fact that
Robert Griffin was 08.
Yeah.
Gilbert was actually graduated like in 08 or 09.
Yeah.
So that would have been
But
before.
based by this,
and they had Colt McCoy.
Yeah, but I mean, they still could have. I mean, made offers.
Well, that was the thing. It was the fact that they offered RG3 as a safety, and they offered Johnny. Or I don't even think they offered Johnny Manziel, and then they, Andrew Luck. I think they were recruiting him. Like, that's all so long ago now, but it was. The big thing with that was just that they went all in on Garrett Gilbert, and then when he turned out to not be that guy, it screwed their depth chart. And then you looked around and you're like, this is supposed to be the guy, and then you look around
4 years.
And there's RG3 in Waco winning Heismans, and there's Manziel winning Heismans, and there's Andrew Luck at Stanford.
Could have won a Heisman.
Yeah, and so that's what I think it was, just a combination of all those things.
And you learn from history, right?
Yeah.
And so they're trying to they're in the mix for Arch Manning. They're in the mix, and they've got others on the roster, and there's Murphy and others, and so they have learned from history.
They have depth now,
no
I mean, that's something they're trying to fill out in the rest of the team. But they're a very interesting. I know it's like he said, every offseason or whatever, but I mean, you think about all the moves that they've made. It really is going to be fascinating to see how that all plays out between the coaching changes and the roster additions. And I know everybody's kind of doing some form of that, but. Because they're that brand, and because they even add, Quinn Ewers, it's going to be a lot of hype, and we'll see what happens. I did want to make mention Frisman Jackson, former Baylor